Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Sophy Liu as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. This is from an act named Led Zeppelin titled Over the Hills and Far Away, the official audio, and we're going to listen through it from start to finish. We're going to hear what we think. I'm not reviewing like the actual music video for it in case it gets copyright blocked, but to be fair, this might as well, so we'll just see how we go. Phenomenal guitar work to start things off with, though, to be fair. Nice work fleshing out the stereo field there.
Hey lady, you got the love I need. Maybe more than enough. Oh darling, 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 walk a while with me. Oh, you got so much, so much, so much.
There's so much going on with the guitars on the sides, though, right? Interesting panning as well, the guitars in the mix. Just how back they are. Fascinating panning of the guitar in the mix. Kind of like the experimental, that is. Great, you just mentioned it. Oh, we're fading out already? That went by so quickly, though. Is that it? Oh, beautiful slide up there. No, I'll give him that. I was wondering what was happening at the end there. I wasn't quite sure about the way we were sort of working in that stereo field with a really sort of subtle texture there. But we're going to talk about this track, though, more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Led Zeppelin titled Over the Hills and Far Away. I'm not really sure what the track's about, if I'm honest. I mean, I know they were talking about like a lady and how they would have what they needed or something like that, and then you talk about like the pockets full of gold and stuff like that, and then they discuss that many is like a word and something you ought to know. I'm wondering if they're continuing that conversation with the lady talking about the kind of like the wealth or the wisdom they have on them or something like that. And then maybe they're supposed to know the feelings they have towards each other or whatever, and maybe they're making assumptions they shouldn't be about the many. I'm not quite sure. I might even been sort of misinterpreting the words there. I feel like you kind of need a lyric sheet to kind of get all the different components together with a track like this. A lot of it's very poetic, but I appreciate the vocal performance nonetheless from Robert Plant in this track there. We start kind of low-key and go up into our range when the distorted guitars come in. I like the sort of change in pace here. We have solid vocal technique, a very distinctive vocal timbre there that carries across the entirety of the song no matter which range you're in. And it's there's some interesting melodies there that harmonize niche well with the rest of the guitar, bass, and drum parts there rhythmically and harmonically. And I like that the vocals aren't the whole time. We're not trying to have the story being the focal point entirety. We have a lot of guitar work earlier on that sort of sets the movement and the pace there. And then we have a few verses and chorus sections. And then the end of it, for the last minute, is basically a kind of a heavily modulated guitar riff there that kind of flows into the rest of the stereo field there with a gentle kind of glow, almost like the sun is rising or something like that. I think it's really clever with the sound design there for sure. But it's a track where I listen to it and I think, you know, we have a singer who clearly knows the story they want to tell there, but they're trying to sort of like maybe provide an illustration for what the guitar work is doing rather than trying to sort of like put their own stamp on it necessarily. It's definitely more of a focus on the guitars here. This track, that's, I suppose, potentially through composed. Well, not through composed. I'd say it's through composed. Like, you start again with the guitars on either side there. You end up with lots of strummed acoustic parts there with a great sort of tone to them. Some interesting sort of bluesy, almost sort of countryish, kind of rockish elements there. Lots of different ideas with the major and minor triads there. Interesting sort of pick patterns. You end up with like the cleans being strummed on one side with acoustic, and then you have kind of rockish, kind of pentatonic, bluesy riffs on the left side there with an interesting solo section. Eventually, it cascades upwards and provides a great sort of alternative kind of lead to what Robert Plant's been doing from Jimmy Page's side of things. And I think that there is enough development through the guitar and vocal parts to keep this track compelling throughout. I enjoy the variations of the different ways to express the guitar parts, such as in the end there with, I think, like the heavily kind of like chambered guitar strumming there, that iteration upon that main motif there, moving back towards the side of the slides, and near the end there with the rise in volume and the automation there, which for the time that this was recorded, the production value was incredibly high, and it would have been difficult to do, and I'm appreciative of the effort that they put in post-production to make it compelling. It was creative. The bass lines as well and underneath were working well with the root notes and typically reinforced the roots and fifths, and the drum parts were great as well. Like, the guy can clearly play. And there are all these different like fourth ideas there and different guitar lines on top of the main sort of rhythm sections. There would have been like 4 or 5 different guitar takes layered on top of each other in the stereo field there. And the drums underneath with the 8th and 16th note grooves just kind of keep things nice and bouncy. The drums understanding they needed to not be there on that first sort of third of it, that the guitars and vocals were enough. The guitars come entering and then the vocals afterwards there, coming in with the bass there and the distorted tone there. There is development of this piece. It is not one-dimensional. It has all these different angles that are featured and scattered throughout there that make it more of a sort of a progression, an adventure of sorts within this Over the Hills and Far Away. And it sounds like when they're telling the story about this woman and then talking about the gold they have in their pocket and the stuff they ought to know, etc., these are different stages of that journey with different aesthetics there. And near the end, maybe you find that sun rising at the end part is the realization of the truth that you found along the way. I think ultimately the theme, it's kind of majorish there. It has a lot of complexity with the note choices. We aren't sort of being particularly sort of like against, like we have brighter textures there, which infers a more sort of positive sort of slant on this. We aren't trying to get too sort of down in the doldrums about it. But simultaneously, it's a piece where it evokes a sense of curiosity from the different guitar melodies and harmonies there over top of the drum and bass there. And you kind of wonder where there's more. It's like we're getting exposed to different elements throughout. There are different thoughts to ponder as we go along our journey. That's kind of my interpretation of why you had those different guitar parts in different areas. Granted, they sounded dope for the most part. It was just more that you also I think they knew what notes they could niche where, and they were able to do so. And there was a flow between different sections as well. You had not only different guitar parts there, but different ideas kind of cascaded into one another with a clear division again in that solo section. But ultimately, it was a track where it was clearly structured. You could easily kind of tell where you were in the piece there. And I think there's replay value because of the journey you have with it, then going back to the start and kind of appreciating what leads into where. And I think that's really clever. It's a really tight instrumental performance there with that note out of place, and the band can just all play, and the vocals sitting neatly on top there with its presence in the mix. So it's really well considered, and again, I like the dynamic range within this. Things go down at the end. That's just as much of a performance thing as it is a post-production thing, but the studio recording, mixing and mastering is awesome, and I really enjoy what we were trying to accomplish with the leveling of the different, vocal, guitar, bass, drum parts there, the different tracking of the guitar parts on the sides of the stereo field there, adding lots of depth and sort of bits of interest there. We had guitar parts on the far sides. In fact, yeah, I went right back to the far side of the stereo field there. Like, you were searching for the guitar. It was like the music was really trying to surround you and envelop it in its world, and I appreciate that attention to detail there. Things were nicely leveled in the frequency spectrum as well as in the stereo field, with no weird resonant frequencies there. It was a professional sounding mix. It was commercial grade. Again, there was dynamic range at the end with the volume automation of stuff going up as we went along there, which was kind of dope. And it was great imagery there. The vocal performances was just captured wonderfully. We didn't need to do any sort of post-processing in that front, maybe a bit of reverb and stuff, but nothing more than that. Robert Blunt can just clearly sing. And then we just have It's Nice and Loud Without Pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an 1990 Led Zeppelin titled Over the Hills and Far Away. And as a closing note, in case you're not satisfied with my thoughts on the track, I sort of feel like I need another time with this piece to really get the hang of it. There was a lot going on there, and I feel like I potentially maybe even mischaracterized or been a bit reductivist in certain facets. But those are my initial thoughts on my first impression, and hopefully you enjoyed the song. If nothing else, please do go show Led Zeppelin some love via their various social medias and a YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SC Patrons video. Spiderhands out.